So welcome back everybody, my name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life. And on today's episode, our main focus is going to be the pantry, although we'll probably include some other things around the house as well. So if you're new to the channel or haven't seen in a while, this is our pantry. It's a 7 by over 14 foot deep pantry, huge. This will allow some storage in here, as well as we want tons of shelving on this wall right here. But first and foremost, Tiffany has requested that we build a little medicine cabinet in here where we can store all your different medicines, things like that. So we're going to start this episode off by just putting a pre-made cabinet together that we ordered in through the mail. Then I can start measuring out for the wire shelving that I'm going to put in here. I currently have some thanks to a very generous viewer and friend that gave me some, and another viewer gave me some brackets that will actually hold up some of this shelving as well. But I am going to be a little short, so we need to go ahead and get started, get the cabinet in, get some measurements, then I know how much more to run to town to get. So also, I don't think I've shown a lot of y'all, we now have our deep freezer in here as well. We had quite the fiasco on getting this delivered. Literally took 2 months of back and forth with the store. So here it is ready to go. We think it's the perfect size for this pantry. We can also put another refrigerator in here if we need to for extra food. And don't forget the processing room that I built over my shop where I do meat processing and vegetable processing has an even bigger deep freezer than that and a full-size refrigerator. So we have a couple different areas where we can store and put up food that we harvest. All right, so we interrupt this pantry building broadcast to install a laundry cabinet. So I've been in there putting this together off camera, and it's time to install it, and I figured, hey, might as well at least show y'all the last of the process here. So we want to install this. It's got two nice decorative double doors. Tiffany wants me to put a little rack in here. We're just probably only going to use one shelf. And she wants to be able to hang like a Swiffer, a broom, a few other things in here. So this is kind of more of a broom closet than anything else. And just like I did with the closet build, I've got this in place where I want it. And I am going to trim this floor molding or trim out of the way so this can sit a lot more flush or closer to the wall there. So that turned out quite well, and we didn't pay but $150 for this shipped. I think that was a very good deal for what I see here, and it arrived actually in perfect condition. We paid like $105 for the other one, but it doesn't look nearly as good as this one. Now, obviously we went with it. We like the shaker design. That's what we already have going in here. And it come with black handles. Plus it was the right size, but it fits perfectly in this area. And I've measured my washer and dryer. They're gonna fit over here with about 3 inches to spare. So everything is gonna fit in nice and perfectly over in this area. And check this out. So I put Tiffany a little hanging rack in here that she had picked up. As you can see, you can hang her different attachments, her pole for her duster. We got duster attachments and cobweb brushes and everything else up here. A little dust buster, a broom, pan, a big old, I don't know, floor dust mop right there. As you can see that big thing that it has there. You need that with all vinyl plank flooring in this house. She still has room to hang a Swiffer there. I can also put a shorter one of these racks on either side and we could hang stuff all the way around. She can even put a little vacuum cleaner here, a little upright like you would do for a vinyl floor. Although I think the majority of our cleaning is going to be with that kind of dust mop. And oh yeah, forgot to show you all the other little guy that we got right here. Our little robot vacuum. I call him, his official name now is Herbie. I don't know why I call him a Herbie, but this is Herbie. So he runs around every day and cleans the house up. Does a pretty good job, but obviously that's just for getting basic dust and things up. You still have to come behind him and clean occasionally. All right, so the laundry room's getting there. We're gonna try to move the washer and dryer over this weekend. No reason we can't. And I'm thinking about building a little shelf up here to kind of hide everything because I'm gonna have to space the dryer off the wall because the vent exits out this way. We'll cover all that in another episode. All right, so I have went and picked up all of my shelving friend here. I've spent quite a while trying to figure out my layout. I went out to the shop and measured some of our larger pots and pans. Like for example, we have a steamer pot that we do low country bowls and things like that in. It's one of the taller pots that I have. My pressure cooking pot, my canning pot, things like that. So I've decided this bottom shelf I'm going to put above these receptacles, which is going to leave over 20 inches of clearance down here. Actually, a little less counting the lip on the rack. That'll easily cover any very large pots or pans. I'm sure we're going to want to stack cases of water on the bottom, sodas, anything else that we may use. So I want this top rack to leave plenty of room. Second rack, where maybe more larger items are going, I'm gonna space out at 16 inches, which is quite a bit of spacing, but again, that covers our pots, pans, Instapots, things like that, in case they wanna go on this rack. I don't want heavy items up high, we're trying to avoid that. Then I think every rack after that, I'm gonna space down to 12 inches. So there's gonna be some odd spacing in here, but it's done for a reason. 12 inches is more than enough clearance to put different types of items on there, pantry goods, all of our canned goods, things like that. And that allows me to get a 6th shelf in here instead of 5, which is what I was originally planning if I was going to do them all 16 inches. So I've tried to really look at a lot of items and things around the house to make for sure these spacings would accommodate certain types of things. So what I'm about to go through and do right now is find every single stud in this wall. I'm going to put a little mark down here on the trim itself. Then I can come back with laser level, shoot up the wall, double check with the stud finder occasionally that I am hitting the stud. And then at that 21 inch, 16 inch, then every 12 and up, I can just make a little pencil mark on the wall. Now I know where to attach the back side of the shelf. That took quite a while to lay out in there, and I knew it would. Trying to put in all those screws, get everything perfectly level, and hit a stud at the same time takes a bunch of prep work and layout. I could cut this also with an angle grinder, but it's like a rubber coated material. I figured all that's gonna happen with an angle grinder is, our little dog thinks I'm out here talking to somebody. But if I use an angle grinder, I figure all that's gonna happen is it's just gonna melt this rubberized coating and not look as good. These bolt cutters are quick enough. So I had to take a wild guess at how I want to do this by myself. This is really a two-person job. So I went ahead and put all of the brackets up. I may have messed up looking at this. Yeah, they're gonna probably wind up hitting some of the wire shelving. So might not have been the world's best idea, but I knew I wanted to get something on the wall to help me hold these up here. Whew, what feels like about 2 hours later, I have got everything hung. Now, it's my first time ever hanging wire shelving, so a tip for y'all. If I had to do it all again, I would put one bracket on the end here, one on the far end, so you can pivot it up. Then I would go back and add my brackets. Because while it wasn't bad, I didn't have to take many off the wall. Some that were already attached to the wall did not line up inside these holes right here. I wasn't thinking when I did that. So I had to take some off the wall and move them over to line up in these gaps and attach properly. So that would be my advice. Do your two ends all the way up, get your shelving set up. Then you can clip one end in, go to the other, tighten them. It can pivot. Then you can go back. Hopefully you've already got your studs marked at that point and start putting your individual pieces on. Maybe running a level in case this sags in the middle, but it stayed relatively straight. What's done is done. We've got it now. So I'm gonna start folding all these shelves up and clipping them onto these brackets that I have here, or bars. Kind of eyeballing everything. And then we've got more brackets to put in against the wall to really sturdy this all up. And I purposely bought these poles, well, for two reasons. One, to help me out, because I knew I'd be doing this by myself and I knew they'd help in a situation like this. And two, you see how I have cut and notched in two different areas? That's because we have two different cabinets going down here. And I really need a support post right here that's out in the middle of, well, nowhere. Now a lot of this shelving is kind of buckled and bowed. That's the way I picked it up. Just happened in shipping, I guess. But the good news is if you put a little elbow grease into it, you can bend it out. Now obviously, hey, it looks like we have shelves, but you can't suspend a bunch of weight here. So now we have to go back in with brackets that go to the wall that will actually support this, or I could have purchased several more of these poles. Problem is these poles, well, they are quite expensive, so I only wanted to get a couple. Literally one pole costs what I think 6 or maybe even 12, might be 12 wall brackets cost. Plus these have plastic clips. Ain't no way I would trust a bunch of canned goods up here, which could be hundreds of pounds per shelf. And yeah, that's probably overrated for the shelf, but I wouldn't want that much glassware up here on little plastic clips. Now once you're anchored into the stud with brackets that we're about to put in and all these clips on the wall, I absolutely trust that, especially being that I'm going to do one every 16 inches, which is far more than they recommend. You know what? I may not do one every 16 inches. We're going to play with that and look around and see. All right, let me show y'all something. I was playing around with how I was going to mount this, and by a stroke of, well, luck, something worked out perfectly. Now, this only works on all the shelves that are spaced exactly 12 inches apart, which is all my top shelves. And here's some brackets like this that I purchased that actually mount against the wall and support up here on the shelf itself. And by the way, this blows my mind how many people did not figure this out. If you read the reviews on Lowe's and other places for these brackets, everybody's complaining and talking about turning them back or sending them back because they'll mount it against the wall like that, and well, they all complain that the shelf just falls out. Well, duh. It has this notch here for a reason, for that wire. So if you were to put that in and now mount this to the wall, that welded on wire and this bar is pushing back into this, and it's not going to fall out. It amazes me how many people put it just like this, suspended in air, and then complain when, well, the shelf just falls right out of it. So check this out. I've got all these clips that are mounted to the studs on the back wall. Y'all seen me do that, and I just discovered if I will take a screw out, lift this shelf up, I'll have to put all of these in to do this. Clamp that in on the top and put it back down there. I can use the same screw, tighten this back right now, that's already in the stud and already holding the next shelf on. And it has this shelf perfectly level. That only works on 12-inch spacing. Now, not a big deal on these bottom shelves, because what I'll have to do down here is just mount this there and just go against the wall where there's a stud and just kind of have it not where that bracket is. Same on this one as well. All right, well, that turned into one of those almost a full day project. There was so much laying out, so much measuring to make sure everything's level, that you hit the studs. That took quite a while, but it's worth it in the end. Now look at all of this storage that we have. Now you're gonna notice that I was gonna do a brace every 16 inches, but I got to looking, you know, that's really gonna hog up a lot of room and make it to where, well, you can only fit 16-inch wide stuff, which would be okay. But I got to looking at it, it was just really just gonna take up too much room and didn't look good. So the other thing I did, I took a full, this is almost a 40 pack of water. I put it on here right in the middle between two braces. As you can see, there is hardly any flex, just a tiny bit. These braces going to the wall and attaching to the studs are doing a really good job of supporting the span in between. Plus, I guess this double thick wire does a good job of that too. So once I put the water up there and realized that's probably going to be the heaviest congested, you know, confined thing that we have, and we're probably not even going to store water up here. That's heavier than, well, you know, rack of my canned goods, unless I just really put individual ones everywhere. But seeing no more flex than I did, I felt really good about that. And I'm going to try to be very careful about not loading one entire shelf up with, well, 500 pounds of canned goods. We'll try to space some stuff out between multiple shelves. We'll figure out our spacing and what we want to do a little later. So down here, it's already loaded up. Tiffany wanted to put our medicine cabinet in the pantry. It's got multiple shelves. Well, it's kind of junked up right now, but it's just got all of our first aid stuff, medicines, everything else that we need. And I think this is a great location to put it. That way you're not completely junking up a bathroom, and we can store way more stuff than a little bathroom cabinet would store. You'll also notice that I left a big opening here. That is because I have ordered Tiffany a 3-tier rack from Closet Made, so it's white wire that'll pull out 1, 2, 3 drawers. This is where we're going to put things like onions and potatoes. So I left plenty of room for that. Problem is that rack won't be here for many more days, so I wanted to go ahead and release the video, but I'm sure we'll do a tour in the future showing us once we start bringing canned goods over, and we'll show that little rack off as well. But I thought that was a good idea to have one here for those type of vegetables. Now I'm sure some of y'all are going to ask, why did you stop your shelving here? You could have carried it further. Well, the obvious reason is I want to be able to get into my panel over here and have easy access. And something a lot of people are forgetting, because it hasn't been mentioned in months, or you're new to the channel, I am planning on cutting through this sheetrock up here. I've designed this completely. This is why I have a knockout in the panel out the way it is, so I could get full insulation in the wall. Panel wasn't in the way. So I'm going to do an opening up here with a door, and I'm also going to cut out and do an opening down here with a door. And you may ask, well, why on earth are you doing that? That's because going straight through up to the attic here, I can always pull future runs of wire to this panel if I need to, or to my networking box, which I can kind of already do that anyways. And it just so happens all the penetrations I did through to the outside of the house are done in this area right here, minus the one area over here going to my outdoor sub panel. So if I ever need to run a phone line in, or whatever I need to do, pull another wire outside, I can open this door up and get access to the outside of the house. via a decorative panel that I have out there. So I wanted good access to get in here. Now we may store something that I can easily pull in and out of here as well. Okay, at this point, we'll start bringing stuff over that we have stored in our shop, start filling this room up, and we'll ultimately make our decision what we're gonna do on these other walls later on down the road. Hopefully you enjoyed this episode. We'll catch you on the next one.